Hi, good evening. I'm Sandeep, and you're watching the Weekender at 5. In today's news headlines, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and Tourism Minister Stuart Nash have announced plans to fast track the reopening of borders. Ardern has announced New Zealand borders will be open to vaccinated Australians from 11:59 p.m. on 12th of April. She said that fully vaccinated travelers from visa waiver countries will be able to enter the country from 11:59 p.m. on 2nd May. The border has already opened to New Zealanders from around the world, and on Monday, critical and skilled workers were also eligible to enter isolation, said Prime Minister. Speaking from the Beehive Press Gallery, Prime Minister said, "We have now received guidance that it is safe to significantly bring forward the next stage of border reopening work and bringing back our tourists. In short, we are ready to welcome the world back," said Prime Minister. However, it seems that while the government is ready to welcome the world back, it is yet not ready to welcome back the separated partners and families, which has left tens of thousands of people living in the country shattered and frustrated. They continue to remain last in the queue despite their partners continuing to live, work, and have a life in New Zealand and be connected with the New Zealand. Trying to understand the basis on which this government is working, although opposition leaders they have started broadly they have welcomed the decision, saying that this border reopening for tourists was long due and it's a welcome relief. But the government has been quite late in acting on this important decision. But simultaneously and more importantly, there has been a criticism of government on leaving behind the non-visa waiver countries on the pretext that it requires resource intense work upon immigration in New Zealand to process their visas. So, criticizing more on that, National Party's tourism spokesperson Todd McClay said that this is a new level of incompetence, a sentiment that is widely echoed and shared by thousands of people who are forced to be separated from their partners and families who are living across the borders. Earlier, a few weeks ago, when Indian Weekender was doing a story on the separated partners and how the government has prioritized the families of the partners to bring back somewhere in the late October. Immigration New Zealand spokesperson has said that only reason for delaying the entry of visa holders and the families who are separated from Kiwis and New Zealand workers here in New Zealand was that their entry requires an intensive work on visa processing, which was again at that time widely condemned and seen as a very incompassionate, inconsiderate, and incompetent response from the government bureaucracy. Anyways, trying to understand a little bit more about uh, government's expedite action on bringing forward this border reopening plan. Only a few days ago, on 14th of March, Stats New Zealand has released data saying that the number of international travelers was continuously dwindling. And it said that the overseas visitor arrivals were 205,000 205,000 in January 2022 this year, which was down by around 386,000 from the January 2021. So it was a massive decline in an year which was relatively free of any COVID for at least 8 months. In New Zealand, we only saw the Delta lockdown coming in August when the lockdown was brought back and the restrictions on international arrivals were once again forced rigidly. But before that, there was a free run of 8 months of relatively unrestricted travel within New Zealand and also from overseas following the MIQ route. Yet, there has been a considerable decline in the number of travelers coming to New Zealand. According to Stats New Zealand figures, The biggest decrease were in the arrivals from United States, which was down by 78,000, Australia, which was down by 58,000, United Kingdom, which was down by 54,000, Germany was down by 22,000, and visitors from Canada were down by 20,000. So, today's announcement of uh, bringing forward the border reopening plan seems to be aiming to bring back this segment of travelers who have kind of given up on New Zealand. In a recent global news, United States had put New Zealand in a category of high risk, restricting its citizens to not travel to New Zealand. In the same press release by Stats New Zealand on 14th of March, that is Monday, uh, they have also released the figures of the incoming travelers who were basically New Zealand residents. So what they have said is that New Zealand traveler arrivals were 148,000 in January 2022, which was down from 211,000 from January 2021. In that segment, the biggest decrease uh, were in the arrivals from the New Zealand residents from Australia, once again, which was on the top, and followed by India. So the New Zealand resident travelers from India were down by 22,000, and subsequently followed by United States, China, and Fiji. So it seems that today's announcement, which has been brought forward after the government was seeking a public health advice on when it can bring forward the phased opening of New Zealand borders, has been influenced by the recent data released by Stats NZ on Monday. Along with that, it could possibly also be influenced by the changing fortune of Labour Party and its opposition National Party on the polls. We have seen in last 2 weeks, National's fortunes are rising a bit. Not only the party is polling high for the first time in high 30s in the last 2 years, plus the new leader, Christopher Luxon, is also polling high as a preferred prime minister. It seems that in last few days, many of the decisions taken by this government are influenced by those exceptional polls. Indian Weekender will keep on delving into this issue and raising the voice of the people from non-visa waiver countries, which is affecting broadly the Kiwi Indian community through our various platforms. We will be getting in touch with the Office of Immigration New Zealand Minister and other authorities in the government and bring you more coverage on this. For today, this is Sandeep along with our production team at Weekender at 5. Thank you for watching Weekender at 5.